Hey everybody, Alex Kirshner here for Odds Checker with my dear friend and colleague Jason Kirk. Jason, you and I are not opting out of bowl season this year, are we?
I guess not. Yeah,
I guess we're here.
it's gonna be a strange bowl season, but we will pay attention to it. And in fact, hey, there's several games that stand out as pretty interesting, including the two playoff games. Let's
Interesting in
go with
very
one
different
of them.
ways. Yeah, let's talk about one of them.
Let's
Yeah.
make early picks, and then we might change our mind on these. But for now, all right.
Seems
So
fine.
Notre Dame, Bama, big spread opening up, biggest spread in playoff history, and settling around 20 points in favor of the Tide. Most computer power ratings would have it a little bit lower than that. But Bama's been great against the spread. Notre Dame has been shaky, including that last game we all saw. And one note is looking at what teams are good at and bad at. Notre Dame's biggest weakness, arguably, is giving up lots of explosive passes on third down.
Well,
Well, Bama's one of the best teams ever at creating those. So, Alex,
yeah.
I'll take, if I have to make a pick one way or the other, I'll take Irish plus 19 and a half and hope they get a couple really cool fumbles and whatever, but it doesn't feel good. How about you?
I might take Bama even at this giant number, particularly given that Kyle Hamilton, Notre Dame's excellent safety, had some kind of sprain in the ACC championship. Early word is that he's going to play, but like you're playing Devontae Smith and John Mechie. You don't really want to have your best safety be like kind of hobbled going into that game. I think what Bama is going to do to Notre Dame could be X-rated. Like we might have to put a content warning on that game and prevent children from watching it. I think it could be similar to what happened in the 2012 BCS championship that they played, which is either remembered very fondly if you like watching Notre Dame get crushed, or remembered as if it's a nightmare if you are a Notre Dame fan. I guess everyone else kind of likes to see Notre Dame get crushed.
That's
I
my
think
choice, yeah.
I think that at this point I'd probably take Alabama minus 19 and a half, 20, whatever it has to be. But I think with most of these games, in terms of actually putting my picks in, I'm going to wait a little bit, see as it gets closer, see how I'm feeling, and see where they go. Elsewhere in the New Year's Six, we'll come back to the playoff later, but a New Year's Six game that could be very dumb, but in a good way. Florida and Oklahoma are playing each other. Jason, which all of these bowl games are in different stadiums this year and with new names this year. Which New Year's Six bowl is this Florida Oklahoma game?
This is the actual Cotton Bowl, right?
The actual Cotton Bowl as opposed to the Rose Cotton Bowl that is not being called the Rose Bowl at this time. It is kind of funny how these teams have shifted in the last few years. We remember just 2.5, 3 years ago, Florida under Jim McElwain, these dudes were allergic to points on both sides of the ball. They could not score. They were very good at playing defense, and their games all looked the same in a not particularly exciting way if you like offense. Florida has completely changed now. They don't believe in defense. They think that that is unholy and are not interested in stopping teams, but they can score. And I think even with Kyle Pitts, the great tight end, not playing in this bowl game, they are going to get theirs. They're going to throw the ball a ton, air it out, and score. It is interesting that Oklahoma has kind of shifted identities a little this year. Obviously, this is still an offense-first program, but they actually play a little defense now. The thing is, I think a lot of that might just be because the Big 12 does not score like it used to. I mean, like half the Big 12 this year was completely miserable on offense, more than half the Big 12. And Oklahoma, I think, capitalized on that. So I'm kind of excited to watch the Sooners devolve into their old selves and see if we can have like a 55-51 type game this week. I don't know.
Speaking of 51, 55, very unpredictable, wild outcomes. Let's jump down a little bit to the regular bowls. Ole Miss, Indiana. Indiana tries really, really hard to make things look super competent, but that's very difficult, and things get messy anyway. Ole Miss, they start from let's make things messy, and then things just devolve from there. So this game's going to rule. Both teams produce lots of big plays. Both teams give up lots of big plays, and both teams are known for concluding games in ways we have never beheld before. So
They do like to do that. I also like the fan matchup here.
Ways.
I like the idea of Ole Miss fans and Indiana fans interacting. And it's tough because I'm not sure how many fans are going to be at this game. But just talk about Indiana, which is sort of the Ole Miss of Indiana,
Yes.
and Ole Miss, which is sort of the Indiana of Mississippi. And I'd love to see how that kind of parking lot interaction works out. I am extremely excited, Jason, about the Peach Bowl, the University of Georgia against the University of Cincinnati. Slugfest could be a great matchup if Georgia keeps airing the ball out the way that they have been over the last month or so since their season basically went to hell and they decided, okay, now we're going to play our best quarterback, JT Daniels, and now we're going to throw the ball the way that we kind of drew it up at the beginning of the season. Cincy secondary, very, very legit, maybe the best in the country at preventing big plays and successful passing plays of all kinds. The thing that I am curious about is, will Georgia challenge that secondary, or is Georgia going to see Cincinnati and be like, this little G5 team, we just want to run these little old Bearcats over because we don't respect them. We don't think they're big enough to cause us any problems. And is Kirby Smart going to just turn this into a disgusting, ugly game of man ball? I don't know. What I do know is that if he does that and loses, then it'll be fun because then we can just talk about how Georgia, quote unquote, did not care.
Right.
And we can just do that as we can do it with any Georgia Bowl loss that is not in the college football playoff. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Speaking of overlooked teams from small conferences, we've talked a lot about how Cincinnati probably should have had better playoff consideration. Coastal probably deserved a New Year's Six bowl spot. Let's not overlook undefeated San Jose State.
No.
Maybe this season's best long-time doormat turnaround story. Awesome year.
Yeah.
And if it's not San Jose State, it might be Ball State. And guess what? They're playing each other. And I mean, I don't even. However that game goes, right? Well, the winner can arguably conclude this year with its best season ever. That's awesome.
I mean, you could make a case. I haven't gone all the way through Ball State's archives, but like even the loser could be like, damn, this was our best year in a long, long time. Maybe not ever, but certainly in the modern era. I mean, San Jose State's had a few up years historically and then typically reverted back to not being great. But yeah,
Ball State had that one really good year.
That one, yes. Yeah. We love Ball State. That's used to be called Ball So Hard University, and then they changed their name to Ball State.
They can win that back, yes.
Yes. Tulsa and Mississippi State are playing in their own bowl game. Which of the many bowl games is this? This is the Armed Forces Bowl. This is the Armed Forces Bowl that is not taking Army, but is taking Tulsa and Mississippi State, which is very, very American, very fitting. Let's be clear about what's going to happen in this game, Jason. Tulsa is going to trash these guys, right? Like they're going to throw them in the trash can and then roll that trash can down a hillside, I think. Am I wrong about that?
I think based on how Tulsa's season has gone, Tulsa will spot Miss State 17 points.
17 points.
And then come roaring back.
And then come back. Yeah, that has been Tulsa's MO. Yeah. Mississippi State has shown a few signs, and I'm a little curious about what that means for them in 2021, but this is still not a good version of the air raid. I am looking forward to seeing Mike Leach throw this ball like 75 times for 220 yards and like 3 picks, maybe a couple touchdowns in there as well. And just hear his post-game press conference after Tulsa wins this game. It could be an absolute sight to see.
Speaking of sights, let's wrap it up with the other playoff game.
Great segue.
Clemson, Ohio State. This is the big game. This is the big draw. Mm-hmm. And the line currently a little more than a touchdown in Clemson's favor, which that might sound like a lot, but let's remember how much of Ohio State's roster was sidelined against Northwestern. Mm-hmm. And if the roster that faced Northwestern is facing Clemson, yeah, I'll take the big number on the far side of the touchdown key number. But if the Big Ten is able to, for the third or fourth or whatever time, change its hallowed sacred rules in the name of making playoff money, then
Ohio State is how dare you?
Underdog. That's pretty tempting.
So the Big Ten is reportedly changing its rules so that players who previously had to sit out 21 days after a positive COVID test now only have to sit out 17. But I'm sure that that's just because that's what the science said. And if January 1st happens to fall in that 4-day period where players couldn't previously play, but now they can, then I think that's a tremendous coincidence and a show that the virus respects what the Buckeyes have to do in this college football playoff. So congrats to the Big Ten, as always, on putting athletes first and being the shining moral beacon of college sports.
I think Dr. Brutus the Buckeyes research is conclusive on this.
Absolutely. He's done a fantastic job. I am excited, Jason. I'm excited for bowl season, even though I would say that this has been the silliest and in a lot of ways the worst and dumbest of many dumb seasons in the sports history. I'm excited. Hopefully within the relative constraints of good health for us to have what is sure to be a very sloppy and dumb bowl season. And maybe, just maybe, a playoff game or two will turn out great. Putting you on the spot right now, though. National championship. Who what's your early impression? We're gonna talk about this as we see more about these teams. But you got a Bama, you got a Clemson.
Yeah, Notre Dame. No, I'm kidding. I I mean, you'd have to take Bama. Like, Clemson looked really great against Notre Dame, particularly up front on defense. If they can, if they're able to really get some pressure on Mac Jones, if that's the matchup, Clemson Bama, then that could be an awesome game. But I think everything depends on that. Can you get to Mac Jones?
Fair enough. Jason has taken Bama, and so following in the footsteps of a rule that Jason has taught me, I will make my early pick Clemson, because that way we cannot be memed, and you can't say that we both got it wrong. Even though I think Alabama objectively should just be steamrolling teams this year. Jason, this has been fun. I'm excited. Talk to you very soon. Thank you for watching this video.
Bye, y'all.